So you're starting your first city in Cities Skylines 2 and are ready to explore adding public transit to the mix. There are so many options for your citizens to move around the city other than just private vehicles. But where do you start? Let's take a deep dive into each method and analyze their benefits and drawbacks. Taxis are the most basic form of public transit in Cities Skylines 2. They're unlocked immediately and only require a taxi depot to operate, but placing taxi stands along your roads will help give people a place to wait for the taxis. They have a low capacity and generally add to traffic on the roads, being only marginally better than a private vehicle. Taxis are great when just starting out, but other methods like bus and tram serve the same purpose with higher capacity. Another option available in the early game are buses. Again, they require a depot but have higher capacity than taxis and require dedicated set routes to be drawn. Placement of routes is quite simple. You have the option of placing down stops or shelters, which are a nice way to detail your roads. But you can place stops anywhere using the line tool. Public transit lines have to operate in a loop, so they need to start and end at the same stop. This applies to all types of lines, not just buses. Buses also have special roads you can either place down on their own or add to most roads by using the upgrade tool, and they have the added benefit of allowing taxis to use them as well. They don't work on alleys, dirt roads, or bridges for some reason, but they work on any other roads. Buses will also use pedestrian roads if necessary. Bus lines can be drawn to outside connections to bring in tourists and workers from other cities via a road. Bus depots do have a limited capacity of vehicles, therefore they require an upgrade or a second depot to be placed. So be aware of this when allocating vehicles to each transit line. Buses can be upgraded to lower pollution electric buses in the depot as well. They're best for short to medium distance routes from higher capacity methods like subway, tram, or train to local areas. Trains are a high-capacity method, great for connecting larger areas of your city that are far apart together, or for bringing in tourists and workers from outside connections. Local trains do require a rail yard to spawn, and have similar rules to bus depots, but they must be connected to the rails with passenger or cargo lines on them to create trains. Both passenger and cargo rails must be drawn in and operate with the same rules. You simply select which platform you want the train to stop on, and click it, and you can connect it to stations within your city or to outside connections or both. Operating in the space somewhere between a train and a bus is the tram. It has a higher capacity than a bus but requires tracks to run. It also needs a depot that must be connected to tram tracks and road. Tram tracks can be drawn standalone or added to most roads using the upgrade tool. Again, they also don't work on alleys or dirt roads, but work on most other roads and can be added to pedestrian roads. Like buses, trams have different shelters and stops to choose from, and they can be placed along roads and tracks. And with trams, the line placement requires stops to be placed at those particular tram shelters or stops, unlike bus lines where you can place them relatively anywhere. They are higher capacity and lower pollution than buses and are great for medium distance travel within regions of your cities. Trams, when placed on roads, do add to traffic, but they have the flexibility of operating along a dedicated right-of-way, which allows them to reach places where roads do not exist. Better known to Cities Skylines veterans as Metro, the subway is one of the most powerful transit options we have in Cities Skylines 2. It operates entirely along its own tracks and can be built above ground or underground depending on your budget and preference. Either way, lines operate the same way as trains, and they require specific stations to be built to function. They do also need a very large depot to be connected to tracks to spawn trains. Subways are excellent for high-capacity travel, but are not suitable for connecting to outside connections. This makes them great for busy downtown areas, especially when placed underground, or when paired with other methods like trains, harbors, or airports. Harbors are water-based public transit. In Cities Skylines 2, passenger and cargo harbors exist and can be placed along the shorelines of your city. Harbors can be used to bring in people or goods from outside connections, or they can be used for internal transit of cargo or people to cross bodies of water that are not suitable for crossing via bridge. Harbors are somewhat expensive, but do not require any special depots to be built, and the lines are easy to draw. Just don't forget to add seaways. They have the highest capacity of any transit method, but because they can only be used on water, they're not quite as good as trains, trams, or buses. They're a bit more situational and specialized in their usage, but the fact that you can use passenger harbors for both inner city and local traffic is a nice change from the first game, where harbors and ferries were separate buildings. The airport is a very expensive transit method, perfect for covering large distances or connecting to outside connections. Yes, in Cities Skylines 2, air travel is a viable form of internal public transit. You can, if you're so inclined, build multiple airports in your city and connect them all via transit routes, and they will transport passengers even if they're not connected to an outside connection. I don't see this as something you'll rely on much, but if you have two cities on opposite ends of the map that are very far apart, adding a flight or two between the airports is a nice alternative or supplement to a train route. A problem I encountered with the international airport is it's so huge and needs a lot of flat land to work properly, which many of the maps are lacking. So, excuse the ugliness. The key drawback of airports is how large they are. The two airport buildings are both massive and incredibly high cost. The regular airport can be upgraded to allow for cargo routes, but those do need to be connected via cargo rail route to get the best utilization.
Take my eyes open to force reality.
If you're new to my channel and found this video helpful, I recommend you watch this next one for more great tips in Cities Skylines 2. Thanks again for watching. My name's Diana, and I'll talk to you later.